Walther von Lüttwitz. Walther Freiherr von Lüttwitz was a German general who fought in World War I. Lüttwitz is best known for being the driving force behind the Kapp-Lüttwitz Putsch of 1920, which attempted to replace the democratic government of the Weimar Republic with a military dictatorship. Early life. Lüttwitz was born on the 2nd of February 1859 in Bodland near Kreuzberg in Upper Silesia, part of Prussia. His father was Ernst von Lüttwitz, Oberforster, Hauptmann and Dike Hauptmann. His mother was Cecile, the daughter of Heinrich Graf Strachwitz von Gross-Zauch und Kamenetz. Military career. Lüttwitz received his military training in 1878–87, finishing as an officer. He then attended the Kriegsakademie in 1887–90. Between 1890 and 1912 he served in various army commands. In 1912, Lüttwitz was appointed Oberquartiermeister at the Großer Generalstab. Crown Prince Wilhelm described him as Mehr Truppenführer als Armeechef, mehr Blut als Gneisenau. During World War I, Lüttwitz held several high military ranks. At the outbreak of war, he was appointed Chief of Staff at the Fourth Army. In September 1915, he became commander of the 10th Army Corps and participated in the Second Battle of Champagne. In 1916, he became Chief of Staff of the Fifth Army and managed to minimize the military fallout from the drain on resources of the Battle of Verdun. In November 1916, Lüttwitz was made commanding general of the 3 Army Corps, having received the Order pour le Mérite in the summer of 1916. In March 1918 he was commanding general during the spring offensive near Saint-Quentin-la-Fière and for his actions received the Oak Leaves addition to this medal. In August 1918, Lüttwitz became General der Infantry. Post-war, after the armistice and the German Revolution in 1918, on the 28th of December the Rat der Volksbeauftragten, the provisional German government, appointed him Commander-in-Chief of the German military in Berlin and vicinity. Besides being in command of all the regular forces of the demobilizing Imperial Army in that region, he was also in charge of all the Freikorps in the area. He was called Father of the Freikorps, as he relied heavily on these paramilitary units in late 1918 and early 1919 after the regular troops had turned out to be unreliable. In this function, he directed the suppression of the Spartacus uprising by the Freikorps in January 1919 under the orders of Minister of Defense Gustav Noske. In March 1919, Lüttwitz's position was renamed Oberbefehlshaber des Reichswehrgruppenkommandos I. In May 1919, the government named him as Supreme Commander of all military troops of the Reich in case of an emergency or war. However, even at the time, Lüttwitz was making political demands outside the area of responsibility of a military commander, like outlawing strikes and abolishing unemployment insurance. Kapp-Lüttwitz Putsch. Like many members of the Reichswehr, Lüttwitz was an outspoken opponent of the Treaty of Versailles that was signed in June 1919. He was concerned that the treaty's stipulations could cause the army to disintegrate during its period of reorganization, and he especially disliked the treaty articles that demanded the reduction of the army to 100,000 men, disbandment of the Freikorps, and the extradition of about 900 men whom the Allies accused of war crimes. He planned to defy these stipulations of the treaty. As early as July 1919, Lüttwitz was involved in plots to topple the Weimar Republic and replace the government of Friedrich Ebert with a military dictatorship. On the 29th of February 1920, Defense Minister Noske ordered the disbandment of 2 of the most powerful Freikorps, the Marine Brigade Lohenfeld and the Marine Brigade Erhard. The commander of the latter, Korvettenkapitän Hermann Erhard, declared that the unit would refuse to disband. On the 30th of February, it staged a parade without inviting Nosk. Lüttwitz said at the parade that he would not accept the loss of such an important unit. Several of Lüttwitz's officers were horrified at this open rejection of the government's authority and tried to mediate by setting up a meeting between von Lüttwitz and the leaders of the two major right-wing parties. Lüttwitz listened to and remembered their ideas but was not dissuaded from his course of action. Nosk then removed the Mariner Brigade from Lüttwitz's command. Lüttwitz ignored the order, but agreed to a meeting with President Ebert suggested by his staff. On the evening of the 10th of March, Lüttwitz came with his staff to Ebert's office. Ebert had also asked Nosk to attend. Lüttwitz, drawing on demands by the right-wing parties and adding his own, now demanded the immediate dissolution of the National Assembly, new elections for the Reichstag, the appointment of technocrats as secretaries for foreign affairs, economics and finance, the dismissal of General Walther Reinhardt as Chef der Heeresleitung, his own appointment as Supreme Commander of the regular military and the revocation of the orders of dissolution for the Mariner Brigade. Ebert and Nosk rejected these demands. Nosk told Lüttwitz that he expected his resignation the next day. Instead of resigning, Lüttwitz went to Dobritz on the 11th of March and asked Erhard whether he would be able to occupy Berlin that very evening. Erhard said he needed another day, but in the morning of the 13th of March he could be in the center of Berlin with his men. Lüttwitz gave the order, and Erhard began his preparations. It was only at this point that Lüttwitz brought the group known as Nationale Vereinigung into the plot. These included DNVP member Wolfgang Kapp, retired General Erich Ludendorff, as well as Waldemar Pabst and Truit von Jagow, the last Berlin head of police in the Old Reich. The goal was to establish an authoritarian regime with a return to the federal structure of the empire. Lüttwitz asked them to be ready to take over the government on the 13th of March. Lüttwitz had not been dismissed, but only suspended from his post on the 11th of March. On the morning of the 13th of March, the Mariner Brigade reached the Brandenburger Tor, where it was met by Lüttwitz, Ludendorff, Kapp and the followers. Shortly thereafter, the Putschists moved into the Reich Chancellery. Supported by a battalion of the regular Reichswehr, they occupied the government quarter. Kapp declared himself Chancellor and formed a provisional government. Lüttwitz served as commander of the armed forces and Minister of Defense. Although the putsch received support from military commanders and other conservative and monarchistic groups around the Reich, the rank and file of the bureaucracy mostly refused to cooperate. A general strike called by the legitimate government, the unions and the parties of the left paralyzed the country and made it impossible for Kapp to govern. After negotiations with those members of the legitimate government who had remained in Berlin, Kapp resigned on the 17th of March, but Lüttwitz tried to hold on for another day as head of a military dictatorship. When Lüttwitz offered his resignation on the 18th of March, Vice-Chancellor Eugen Schiffer accepted, granting him full pension rights. Schiffer also suggested Lüttwitz should leave the country until the National Assembly had decided on the question of an amnesty and even offered him a false passport and money. Later life. After the collapse of the putsch, Lüttwitz first went to Saxony and only later left for Hungary. He used the passport provided by supporters in the Berlin police department. Lüttwitz returned to Germany after an amnesty in 1924. He went back to Silesia and supported the DNVP but was not politically active. In 1931, he called for the creation of the Harzburger Front and in 1933 congratulated Wilhelm Frick on the successful Marktergreifung by the NSDAP. His book, Im Kampf gegen die November Republik, was published in 1934. Personal life. Lüttwitz was married twice. In 1884 at Nimkau, he married Louise, daughter of the Austrian Hauptmann Victor Graf von Wengersky and Eleonore Gräfin Halle von Hallerstein. In 1921 at Salzburg, he married Adelheid, daughter of Johann Freiherr Sardania von Meenberg und Hohenstein and Irma von Dorna. With Louise Lüttwitz he had 3 daughters and a son. His son was Milo Freiherr von Lüttwitz. His daughter Maria married Kurt von Hammerstein-Equid. Lüttwitz died on 20 September 1942 in Breslau. Bibliography. Berger, Florian, mit Eichenlaub und Schwettin. Die Hochstickerierten Soldaten des Zweiten Weltkrieges. Selbst Verlag Florian Berger, 2006. ISBN 3-950130705.